Hi guys, welcome to Jodi Dancers Talks. Today we have Clayton with us and he works with me and you'll see has his own Insta page.
Yep, CrwndCrane.
Yep, so we know you do a lot of mental health awareness talks on there, you're very open, you do a lot of posts, so thank you so much for coming today and sharing all that with us.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. First of all, I'd like to ask, when did you realise you were yourself suffering from mental health?
Yeah. Probably when I was about 7.
Oh.
Because I've had a fear of like dying since the age of 7. Couldn't go to sleep sometimes, or just I'd always wanted to be around people. Just because I felt like when I was on my own, I was really paranoid about like just being conscious and being like alive and trying to just figure out like what's life and what does that mean, and it used to just freak me out. So ever since an early age, I'd suffered about 2 panic attacks. I didn't know what a panic attack was at the time. Just told my dad, I can't breathe, I'm struggling to breathe. Took me to hospital, took me to A&E. We were there till about 3 a.m. They didn't diagnose it as a panic attack. They just tried to give me an asthma pump and thought that I had asthma, but I passed all the tests. And then it didn't happen again until I was older. But obviously I had like attacks every now and then, but not that severe. And it wasn't until maybe 3 years ago I went to the GP because I was just having like really bad cramps, and I was like, tried to retrace my steps. I said, this is what happened, and I was thinking about this, and then my heart just started palpitating the next day, and they said, it just sounds like you've had an anxiety attack. And then that's when we started to trace the steps back. But before then, I'd never sort of like gone to the GP or anything and tried to seek help. But,
Right, so it was quite young when you officially had the first experience of it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I guess, being young and not knowing much about it, like it was come as a shock to you, I guess.
Yeah.
So then, when you have panic attacks now, or if you do, do you find you can deal with it better, or?
It's weird because I've not actually like thought about this. But ever since I actually started talking about it, I've not had one. So that was quite weird. Didn't think about it. I hadn't thought about that before now. But but I haven't had one in ages. But since like getting help and figuring out that this feeling and anxiety and these palpitations, it's linked to my anxiety and my mental health. I've not really had to sort of deal with it or try to deal with it since then, because I've been quite open about it. But I think now, going through that, I don't really know what I would do. But I've got people that I can talk to about it and just try to calm myself down.
So what you said was quite interesting actually, when you said you first had a panic attack at the age of 7, or that's when you first started suffering. But there's an initial misdiagnosis of it's asthma. What do you think, with your specific scenario, what do you think that highlights about mental health as an issue in itself? What do you think it?
It's like, I think it's a really like touchy subject, because even going to the GP about it, just to sort of flash forward before I go backwards, even going to the GP about it initially, I was told that I'd be waiting about 6 weeks to be seen by someone. I had to go about twice just to sort of say I came in because I was suffering from these thoughts. You've diagnosed the heart bit and linked it to mental health and a panic attack, but you haven't come back to me. It's not until the second appointment and when I went back, that's sort of when they said, okay, we'll recommend a GP, we'll recommend a psychologist, and you get you talking to a counsellor. I think there's an issue of just waiting a while to be seen by someone, first of all, but then that misdiagnosis, it doesn't really help, because at that young age you yourself don't know what you're going through sometimes, but then it didn't really help that at the time the health professionals didn't really link the two things together. Well, I suppose it's easier said than done with some conditions, because if I was schizophrenic or something, or it was a lot more of an obvious mental health condition, it would have been a lot easier to diagnose. But with anxiety, it's so all over the place. People experience it with different things, so it's a lot harder to diagnose correctly.
And like when you said you went to the GP, did it take you time for you to build the courage up to go, or did you try and deal with it yourself first?
Yeah, because for over 20 years I had been dealing with it myself. So initially when I went to the GP, it was because my partner at the time was actually the person that said, why don't you go and try and get help, why don't you try and get seen. And that's sort of the thing that prompted me to go and get checked out and figure out what it is. But I think had I not had like heart pain and chest pain, I would have been, I would not have gone to the GP to get seen about it, I don't think.
And do you think that's because there's a stigma within, like, not just communities generally about mental health? Do you think that's a big reason?
Yeah, because I think it's part of it is because I try to live a normal life. Like, I don't before that I didn't really used to talk about it with my friends. I was just a normal kid doing normal things, and no one ever sort of questions your mental health because it's not an obvious thing. Like if you're going through something but you're really active, you're sociable, no one's ever really gonna ask you like, are you okay, or it's not something that's gonna be interesting for them to talk about, or at least that's what I thought at the time. But there is definitely a stigma attached to it. It's not really a topic of conversation within my community anyway.
That's what we were going to say. So in terms of communities, certain communities do not like talking about it. But we've said that there's not a word for it per se now.
In Punjabi there's no word for mental health.
Wow.
Or anxiety or depression. They all say depression, and that covers everything. Sorted then. Do you find it that there's more community-wide problems as well?
I think definitely, because just as in the black community or African community. So I think when I got diagnosed with you've had a panic attack and anxiety, I went and told my mum about it, and just said, this is what I've gone through and this is what the GP have said. My dad's first response was, what's a panic attack? What's that? And my mum's like, don't be so insensitive, she explained what a panic attack was. And he's like, oh, those are not real things. And even like, because I'm a Christian, but with my religion, it's like, when we're taught that we're not born with sort of like these kind of spirits, and mental health isn't a thing, or like depression isn't a thing that you're born with. So it's like a spiritual thing that you go through. So there's a lot of like different angles and different things. You're being told different things by the communities that you're in. So it makes it hard for you to actually go and say, okay, well, I need to go and seek help because my religion tells me that I'm supposed to go and pray about it. My friends tell me that it's not an issue. We don't talk about this. We just cover it up and you'll be fine. And then you've got the professional side which says go and talk to a counsellor, but then that's easier said than done.
That's it. So like you said, when you explained to your dad that it was a panic attack and he didn't know what it was, did that kind of make you reserved in saying things again? Like when you knew you were suffering from something, did that make you hold back on opening up to your family about it?
Since that day I've not talked about mental health at all. No. What about in your community? Like, how does
it's the same. It's the same sort of thing. We've noticed from our other talks that it is such an issue. It's the same thing that it's not talked about, or you'll be fine is a big one that I think people have said.
They'll say, get over it. It's a phase. Go to sleep, eat, watch TV, and it's like they're not. No one's qualified to tell you how you should feel. You feel what you feel, right? Everyone thinks, oh, well, if you watch TV or you watch a nice comedy skit or something, you'll be fine.
That's it.
But I think within our community, what we're trying to do, like as well as trying to get a good group of people to try to shout about mental health, not just talk about it, shout about it, because it
needs to be known.
Definitely.
Such a big thing.
Definitely.
So again, in terms of like you obviously knowing you suffered from it, how did you deal with it? Like, did you do certain things? Like, obviously I know you do your sports. So did you find for you that helped you?
Yeah, definitely. I think sports, and there's a lot of things, but definitely sports helped me to sort of channel my energy and my attention somewhere else. And I think with my mental health issues specifically, just having something to do physically or mentally took me away from overthinking. And that helps me a lot. Every time that I'm sort of going through anything like that, I try to just distract my mind and put my mind on something else. You know, like even at the moment, boxing's helping me quite a lot, like with handling stress, and if I've got too much going on at work, I know that I can leave work, I'm gonna go to boxing, work out for 2 hours, and then you know, my body will be too tired to be overthinking, you know. So definitely.
So having like helps. A routine as well, like that, you know, helps having some sort of stability, I guess.
100%.
That's good.
You know, because I know that you guys have like a dance academy, so like something like that would be really good for the community, you know, like young kids in general, like just having something to do and focus your mind on. It helps sort of free up time, and you know, you don't end up like sitting letting your thoughts eat away because you've got something positive.
It's a stress relief as well. It gets someone out. You know, we've had people say that as much as it's hard to get out, once they've done it, they feel so much better.
Yeah.
So definitely. You know, it's good for us. And like we had Mind come to one of our classes and speak about it, and I think, like you said, like raising awareness, it helps, and especially with the younger community, it's good to make them aware now.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, they need to know.
So I think the first question they asked was quite interesting. They said, "Who here has mental health?" And not many hands went up.
Yeah.
And it's such a negative term, mental health. It doesn't have to be, but it's got so many negatives associated with it. They think that, oh, I ain't got mental health, you know.
Yeah.
It's not my problem. I'm all good. But what I found interesting was when you talk about the religious perspective. I mean, we haven't delved much into that, and it's quite interesting to say that, because we use the word community and it's quite loosely defined.
Yeah.
But you've got, like you said, you've got community where you got to work, your sports clubs, and the religious community is quite a massive. How do you feel like, not in regard to specific religion, but how do you think it feels in terms of when people say just pray? Does that help, or?
To a degree, because it depends how spiritual you are, you know, because I've sort of found Christianity or refound Christianity in the last 2 years. So I've been dealing with my mental health or anxiety for most of my life, so I didn't have that sort of spirituality to lean on, and then being like in the early stages of that spiritual journey, it's easier to lean on something that I can sort of see and rely on, like the medical help and medical advice, because that's what I've been exposed more to. But you know, if I was a lot more spiritual, or if someone was a lot more spiritual, I can see how that may help in you know, general as well. Because if you are a lot more prayerful and your faith's a lot stronger, that is a coping mechanism. So I can see how that helps as well. So it just depends on someone's spirituality, I guess. You know,
that's one size doesn't really fit all in terms of mental health.
Exactly. You know, because there's some things you can pray about it and you know it'll help you. But then there are certain things, you know, like if you're schizophrenic, or if you've had, you know, suffering from post-stress,
PTSD.
That's it. I've forgotten what it stood for a minute. But so if you're suffering from PTSD, that's something that you may not be able to just pray and forget, because you know your memories are still there and those flashbacks are still there. You know, it's something that you probably require a lot more than just being prayerful. So I think that that's sort of my views. What about you guys? What do you think?
Well, it's pretty similar. Like obviously, some people aren't as spiritual or as religious, so going there may or may not help them. It depends how not devoted, but how much they are into it. But you can see the aspect of where it can go. You know, when you go, it does calm you down. You do forget things. You're in that zone, so you can understand where it would help. And that would probably also be another good way to take your mind off things.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite interesting now, because it sort of opened my eyes a little bit to say that there's different types of activities or routines, meditation, prayer, whatever it may be, to have different phases. Like sometimes you might need to meditate and relax. Sometimes you might need to go out and just do an activity like boxing or dancing. And it's quite interesting, like, for people to sort of create their own diet in terms of what suits them. Yeah,
definitely. You know, you have to chop it up and dress according to, you know, your size. With mental health, you know, like some people may need just an activity a few hours a week, but if it's a lot more severe, you might need your hour session with your counsellor, the activity on the side to sort of help you, your community talking about it with your friends, because all of it's, you know, just like a chop the package up to suit you, as you've just said. I think that's definitely very important.
Like you mentioned the counsellor, like you said before, it's easier said than done. Mm-hmm. So for you, was that a struggle to go?
I didn't go.
You didn't. Was there something that stopped you, or?
I mean, it's just the length of time it took, and then it was like, they're making it sound like I've got a problem. You know, it's. By the time the appointment comes round, I won't be going through it. So there's nothing really to talk about. It just feels like now I'm just opening up to someone. So it's a lot. So it just changed the dynamic. And I think with anxiety sometimes, being in that, it's something that you suffer with in that moment, and then you're okay again. So then it's so up and down. Trying to sort of wait 6 weeks before you can see someone. I think that sort of needs to be shortened. You need to be able to go in and maybe have a counsellor at the GP to handle these sort of problems there and then. In the same way, if someone's got a broken leg, they get it strapped up, and you know, at least there's some sort of immediate treatment, and then you know, you might have to go back for medicine and do X, Y, and Z. But for mental health, there's nothing sort of immediate. It's okay, come back in a few weeks and talk to someone, but I need to talk to someone now because you know, I'm gonna go to bed tonight and my mind's still gonna be racing. So I think maybe, you know, having someone at a GP that's just solely focused on mental health issues, or having like a mental health clinic where you can walk in and just talk to someone, that might be useful.
So talking, you said earlier that sometimes talking about it helps. How important is it just to talk?
I think I found it's the most important thing. You know, last year alone, it helped me a lot because the whole year I was just travelling on my own, so I had no choice but to talk to people. And I made a conscious effort to put mental health into every single conversation I had and just be open about my anxiety. And most of the people that I talked to suffered from it as well. You know, I mentioned it on an episode last week. I was just, you know, at my flat, and one of my neighbours we were just talking, and she started to open up about her anxiety, and my picture of anxiety was very different to her picture of anxiety. You know, hers was a lot more extreme, and you know, how she described what she goes through, it's like a mountain compared to like a small peak with what I go through, and I think that mine's quite bad. It's quite severe when I'm going through it. But, you know, to the point where she's actually scared to lose her life because of, you know, how intense the actual feeling is. She feels like her heart's, you know, going to stop. And I was like, wow, like that's so different. But then just talking about it and being open, I was like, wow, like if I am going through something, I've automatically now got someone I can go and talk to that can relate. She knows what I'm going through. I know what she goes through to some extent. And I think, talking about it's very, very powerful thing because it shows you that you're not the only one suffering from it.
And is that what inspired you to do your videos?
Yeah, that is what inspired me to do my videos. Just being able to just talk. Still a bit nerve-wracking. Listening back to my voice and whatever else. But in the moment, I try not to think about it too much. Just put it out there. There'll be people that can relate. There'll be people that engage, and I think that's what keeps me going. Just seeing that there are people that appreciate it, seeing that there are people that can take advice from it, and seeing that the people that can actually give me advice also.
So then, when you're having like a time where you're suffering from your mental health, what's your first step? Is it to do your podcast videos, or is it to do something internally? Like what do you do?
I try and distract myself. I try and like bring myself back to reality as soon as possible. So what I like to do is listen to like a lot of science podcasts or space videos. Sometimes they trigger my anxiety, but a lot of the time it calms me down because it's like, okay, now I've got something to actually focus and try and figure out. And then before you know, I've stopped thinking about whatever I've been sort of my mind's been racing away at. So but you know, it's a really good idea just being able to actually record it one time while I'm going through something. Actually just address it on camera. So I haven't had a panic attack or anything like that for a while, but I think that might be some good content. Just to actually just sit here and just talk to a camera and just describe what I'm going through. And
then I noticed as well also on your page that you do say a lot about men not being open about it. How did you find that when, you know, if you did start speaking to men about it, were they reluctant at first, or did they take their time in opening up?
No, like with me taking that first step, it made it a lot easier. But I found that growing up, I didn't want to talk about it because no one else was talking about it, and I think that's with men. That's a lot. You know, there's that pride there. It's like, if I talk about it, they're gonna think I'm soft or something. So like, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about football or something.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just a matter of if you take that first step, a lot of people will either respect you, or it's an opportunity for you to actually teach someone about something. If they don't know, if they don't go through it themselves, it's an opportunity for them to learn about it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they may then speak to someone down the road who's going through something. It's like, I don't really know too much about it, but I spoke to Clay.
Yeah.
You know, put you in touch that way.
That's
so
it.
I think, just getting that conversation going, it's you know, it's the first step, and it definitely opens the doors to just men being able to actually talk about it and leave pride to one side and just get on with it.
That's good. And did it go down well? Like, you think?
Yeah.
Well, obviously it has, because I've seen your page.
Yeah, no, I think it does, because the day that we live in now, I think the lines are getting blurred, I think, with like what is manly anymore. It's no longer like cool to just think, this is what a man means, or this is what being a woman is, and just putting a box around it. I think people are a lot more sort of in touch with their feelings, a lot more open to be in touch with their feelings. I think the door's a lot more sort of open to you being able to express yourself how you want. So it is a lot more acceptable now for a man to just talk about their feelings with another man, or, you know, whoever. So yeah, definitely, I think it helps.
So thank you for joining us today, Clayton. It was really nice to have you come and join us and open up and share your experiences. And if you don't already, make sure you go follow his page on Instagram.
CrwndCrane.
Yeah, so thank you for today, and that's the end of this episode.